listening to the Betmaker Show. This is the NFL Super Bowl Preview for Monday, January 27th, 2020. And now, live from Las Vegas, the host of the Betmaker Show, Brian Blessing.
Well, the long and winding road takes us to one more football game, and Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. It's been a treat all football season long to pick our pal Jack's brain, one of the top odds makers in the industry. We are down to the final game. Last week we got the opener and the opinion from Jack. We'll dive inside the game a little bit here. But first and foremost, Jack, tell us what you were thinking in terms of the opener. Again, we're a week removed, but now as we have 2 weeks to dissect this game, where does it sit and where do you think it goes?
Well, unfortunately, I can't change my opinion because I voiced it last week here. I had San Francisco a small favorite. The handicappers had Kansas City the small favorite. We opened at pick, and the handicappers were right. They have it's now 1 minus 15 on the bottom. It sat there basically the whole week. The highest it got was 1 minus 19 and 1.5, and the lowest it got was 1 flat. So it's hung there very well. There's been a lot of action early on. The last few days, more concentration on basketball and hockey all-star game. And I don't see much movement in it. If anything, it goes to 1.5, but I don't see much movement at all.
All right. Call it an educated guess. And I could be wrong, but we're seeing 54.5s, but 55s appeared, globally. I've got a funny feeling the Sharps are sitting here letting the general public have a picnic with this, but I think later in the week, and I think it could be moderately significant, I think this thing comes soaring down total-wise. I think I could see 53.5s popping up. I think the sharp money, the big money late is going to come in on the under. Is that feasible?
I agree with you, but the problem is that perhaps during the season on an NFL total, that maybe on every dollar spent, maybe 35 cents, 40 cents is smart money, and the other 60 cents is the public. In this game, it's going to be like 90 cents to 10 cents. So they can't really dominate it. They can sit there and wait, and they'll get the best number. And the players tipped our hand on Sunday night when we opened it at 51, and it quickly went to 53.5, 54. And now it's sitting at 54.5. But they're just sitting there waiting. They know the public's going to bet this game over because they watched Kansas City and San Francisco the last 2 weeks. Kansas City's been up and down the field after spotting teams' leads, and San Francisco's played two over. So there's no sense in betting it under until the public really gets done with it on Sunday.
And the other thing that would bear watching, because, listen, we know how, weather can be dicey and can change, and you're trying to project something 6 days away. Rain's in the forecast Saturday. Sunday looks to be a gorgeous day, but a gorgeous day in Miami doesn't preclude a late afternoon, early evening, 10 to 15-minute shower. But the thing is, in Miami, there are no such things as showers. It's like the sky opens up. And the last 2 Super Bowls that have been played there have been played in the rain. If there's any hint that it could rain, and we know wind is the bigger issue for an under, but it's a grass field. I still got this funny feeling that there's going to be moisture on that field.
And the first time that smart players read about that I neglected to say, the first time they read about that, that'll be their first move on the under, trying to get a big jump on the highest number they can. But if like you say, if the report is for Saturday, they'll figure the field's covered and safe on Sunday. But as soon as they hear something about Sunday, the move will take place.
This may be way too simplistic, but I do believe a lot of people would go with this train of thought that, if it's correlated, Kansas City and the over, and San Francisco with the running game and the ferocious pass rush, if you like San Francisco, you'd probably lean San Francisco in the under, which is actually that's kind of where I'm going right now. I think this pass rush from San Francisco is relentless. I'm not saying Mostert's going to be Jim Brown again, but they've got the better running game and the better defense, Jack. And at the end of the day, maybe it's trite, and it doesn't mean you can't have a shootout in a one-game scenario where something goofy happens. But if they say defense wins championships, I'm on San Fran. And that's no knock on Mahomes, because I think KC is the better quarterback.
No, I agree with you. And I think if you switch quarterback, San Francisco might be, I don't know, a touchdown favorite.
Yeah.
But
maybe
that's
more.
not the situation. So, I mean, Mahomes is worth a lot. He's probably the best quarterback in the NFL. I think he's almost 100% healthy. And Garoppolo, this will be the biggest game of their career for either one. But Mahomes seems like an unflappable player. And Garoppolo, we'll see how he reacts to it.
How is this week for you guys down in your war room? I mean, basically, you've got the number up. You've got the game. You get the starting point, the foundation. You laid all the bricks. But you've got the in-play guys are going to be obviously in the game going bananas. And then the props start to kick in. And maybe I would say from your side of things, if on props, because here in Vegas, 45 to 50% of the handle, they say now, is indeed on the props. And if there is defined steam on select players in props, could it lead you to the point, you're not doing anything proactive. I mean, money's going to move all here. Nothing's moving on air. But could activity on props give you a tipping point where the number may go later in the week?
I don't think so. I think they'll put up a decent number, which will be pretty well split. And if there's anything indicative, they'll probably point it out to me. But generally, everybody tends to their own area, their own department, and basically we're unaware of what the other guy's doing unless there's something really pertinent that comes up to one of the heads of the department that says, hey, this tells me this should happen.
Is it just another Super Bowl? But I mean, the one thing that's going on, I guess, Jack, is, and it's terrifying how fast we've gone. I was at Super Bowl 25. Hell, I mean, Bruce Marshall's coming up in our later podcast. I remember watching Super Bowl I. Bruce Marshall was at Super Bowl I. To think where we are right now, are there historical things now that the sample size has grown so big that have proven beneficial for you?
Well, naturally, I mean, if I was just a kid when they had the first Super Bowl, but I remember empty seats in when the game was in California. I believe it was in
the Coliseum.
Yeah. Right. And
for outstanding information and special offerings and promotions, we invite you and encourage you to sign up for our newsletter today simply by going to the website at betmaker.com.
Shattered come the Jets' victory in the following year with Kansas City, and then the ultimate merger. But it's done a lot for the industry with the promotions, the shows. Everybody lives for this game now. I mean, it's the most popular one event in the United States. I can't think of anything more popular.
The one thing I would say, and we'll wrap it up with this, and maybe ask a player or two that you like, but it's a football game. But it's a weird football game. It's not what we're accustomed to seeing, right? I mean, all the hype, all the pressure, all the nonsense, all the talk, 2 weeks to prepare. And it does seem generally, one team may be, a basket case and do something really stupid in the first quarter. But generally, there's like a feeling out period where there are nerves in the beginning of the game. Then they finally start to find a groove and a rhythm in the game. And then you get to the ridiculously long halftime, which is foreign to these guys because they don't normally experience it. And one team may react much better to that long halftime than the others, and there are quirky things that happen as a result of it.
Well, one of those things being Kansas City has come out of the gate slow in both their playoff games. Mm-hmm. They've fallen down 24-0 and 10-0 before they really start taking it seriously. Could that happen again? Is that a trend, or is that just two aberrational games? I don't know. And what you point out is great at halftime. That longer duration throws the whole rhythm off. You have no idea what could occur. New Orleans switched it all with that onside kick after a long halftime.
Yeah, didn't I? If memory serves too, right? I think they were the big underdog. I believe it might have been one that Pittsburgh lost, but didn't Cowher do the same thing? Yeah,
I think so.
Coming out of half, I think. Yeah,
and there's the psychology of the player too. A person who normally bets anywhere from $100 to $1,000 on a weekend with a few games he ends up betting like $5,000 on this game. He gets involved in the game, and then he gets involved with all the props, and pretty soon, he's betting 2-3 times more than he normally does.
Which is great, right? I mean, it's like the Sunday night game or the Monday night game, the standalone game, and you sit there and you have no opinion, but it's on TV and they bet it. We always say, don't bet the game just because it's the game that's on TV. And here, this is the game. And even if you're sitting there coin flipping, the beauty of it is you can have a stronger opinion on props and not be sure at all what you want to do with the side and the total. But the bottom line is, even if they don't have a big opinion on this game, everybody's firing.
Everybody, they have to, whether it be over the counter or whether it be friend to friend or props or they'll get involved because it seems that everybody's involved in this game. Take who's watching and multiply it by 2, and that many people are in action.
All right, so look, you got the starting point up, you got the number up there. Now it's a market number, and everybody's having at it. But you personally, as you watch, will watch any individual or a handful of them in the game that you see. The thing I love about the props that is lost on many people. Oh, I think San Francisco is going to kill them. Okay, well, so I'm going to play Mahomes under, and what people fail to realize that in probably the majority of the games, the guys that go over on the props are on the losing side because they're chasing the game. And the defense is playing a 2-deep zone and letting them march down the field because the other team's got to. So one guy on one team has had a big day and given them the big lead, but across the board, there'll be 4 or 5 guys on the losing team that go over all their projections because they're chasing the game and become one-dimensional. It seems almost foreign, but the losing side are the guys that go over.
It is. Well, that's a normal thing. Like in fantasy football, you basically want a team that's going to be behind most of the game because at least you're going to get a touchdown pass at the very end of the game. And so you take whatever very average quarterbacks can put up good numbers in fantasy football. In this game, if San Francisco gets the lead, and the Super Bowl, I don't think anybody ever takes their foot off the gas. So if San Francisco gets the lead, okay, now they're going to pound the ball because that's really what they prefer to do, which leans towards everything you said. If Kansas City gets the lead, they're going to keep throwing. So it's Mahomes is going to come up with big numbers, whatever happens in this game.
Just as an aside to maybe drive the point home is eons ago when fantasy football was really in its infancy. I remember the one year, I don't know, they took first round, took a running back, but in the second round, I took Vinny Testaverde when he was quarterbacking Tampa, and they were historically bad. These guys laughed at me on draft night like I was an idiot. I won the league for fun. They were down 21-0 in the first quarter every game, and Vinny Testaverde was throwing for 400 yards a game.
Right, because the average person, when you're drafting a thing saying, he's not that very good, my guy is better than him. Well, he may be better than him, but the situations vary, and that's what makes the other more valuable pick.
It is truly the definition of the game within the game. I would say to you, Jack, job well done. Congrats. Football's in the cookie jar. But all that means is on to the next thing.
Yes.
It doesn't. It is so unbelievable, isn't it, that there is just no downtime. And like, for argument's sake, now this year we have an Olympics. Some summers you got the World Cup soccer. There's always something, and there's no downtime anymore.
No, and that's good. The biggest downtime is All-Star break in baseball, when you basically have the WNBA going, and that's it. And now I think arena football is folded, right?
Oh boy, yeah. Good luck on that one. Well, you get this XFL thing or whatever starting up.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's on TV and it's on the board. They're going to bet it. And you got to do the work, right? But listen, man, again, sincere thanks. We've had so much fun with you all year long. And I'll tell you what we'll do maybe next week, because when we say it never ends and everything we do in this industry is in look-ahead mode, next Monday maybe we'll convene and we'll talk about Super Bowl odds for next year, because that's what happens.
I'm sure they'll be up Sunday night.
You got it. Jack, always a pleasure, bud. Enjoy the big game.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Betmaker, let's make some money tonight.
Well, that's the Betmaker Show for now. We publish multiple times each week. We'd like to thank you for listening, and if you liked what you heard, please take a moment to leave a rating and review, or subscribe to our show feed, or share our show with a friend or two and help us grow the show. We very much appreciate it. Visit us on the web at betmaker.com. And reminder to sign up for the newsletter. Thanks to our engineer, Darren Vandermolen, and producer, Mike Gallivan. The Betmaker Show is a production of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated. Betmaker is a registered trademark. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this content without the express written consent of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
The handicapping and sports odds information contained on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm the wagering regulations in your jurisdiction, as they vary from state to state, province to province, and country to country. Using this information to contravene any law or statute is prohibited. The podcast is not associated with, nor is it endorsed by any professional or collegiate league, association, or team. This podcast does not target and is not intended for an audience under the age of 18. If you think that you have a gambling addiction, stop this podcast now and please seek help.
Gambling and betting on sports is a form of entertainment and should be about having a good time. But when done excessively, it may negatively affect other areas of a person's life, such as their physical and mental health, school or work performance, finances, and or interpersonal relationships. At Betmaker.com and the Betmaker Show, we're concerned about the addiction that gambling may cause, and for this reason, we encourage everyone to practice responsible gambling, an approach to gambling that helps you ensure that it remains an enjoyable activity. Here are the main principles of responsible gambling. Don't think of gambling as a way to make money. Always gamble with money that you can afford to lose. Set limits and stick to them. Never chase losses. Don't gamble when you're depressed or upset, and create a healthy balance. Always be aware of how much time you spend gambling or thinking about gambling. And do not allow gambling to cause you to miss out on time with family and friends or time spent on other activities you enjoy. By following these guidelines, gambling can be a good time and great entertainment. If you feel at any time that your gambling is taking away from important areas of your life, is causing you stress or depression, or is leading to financial losses that are beyond your control, please reach out for help. Learn more at responsiblegambling.org.